If you've ever watched a Caracorder video, you probably already know that our mission is to get the whole world typing at the speed of thought. It's a pretty ambitious mission for a small company, but when you break it down, there's really just 3 things we have to do. Step 1, we had to make typing at the speed of thought possible, which we did with our flagship product, the CC1. Next, we had to make typing at the speed of thought accessible, which we did with the Caracorder Lite, the Caracorder Engine, Caracorder X, and the upcoming Caracorder Zero. But the last step, as difficult as the first 2 were, it took us about a decade, both of them combined are nowhere close to as difficult as step number 3. This is the reason why so many people think what we're doing is impossible. When you're taking on the typewriter, making a better product is only the very beginning of your journey. What we make is important, but what's far more important is how we make people feel. I'm actually really glad there's tons of people that think what we're doing is impossible, because that gives us the opportunity to make tons of people experience the impossible. That's the only way we're ever going to accomplish step 3. But what does capturing that experience actually look like? Our whole lives, we've been flooded with games that hack into our intrinsic desire to build new skills. These games are relentless in their encouragement and in their promise that every time you level up, you're one step closer to greatness. The only problem with these games is that the moment that you step away, you leave that greatness behind. But what if you didn't have to? What if there was a game where you could level up in real life? This is not a typing game. This is Caracorder.io. If CCIO is not a typing game, what kind of game is it? Well, that's the question we're going to be answering in today's video. It has characteristics of an educational training tool, of an MMO, of a social network, but what happens when you sort of combine all of those attributes together? What kind of game do you get? Exactly 1 week ago, we launched this teaser, and you may have seen little snippets of the game running in the background of other content that I've made, but I've never actually talked about CCIO in public. I've never actually demoed it. This video will be the first time doing that ever. And to start, I want us to watch this teaser together because there's a lot happening that requires explanation. It requires context to understand the gravity of what actually is being shown in the teaser.
Welded wounds are tightening, inviting the old and new together at last. Rewinding, finally I'm finding what's binding exists though only inside of my head. Repeating words that never mattered, another habit shattered. My heart is cold, but it's still pounding, steel and concrete flames surrounding. How will you wield that moment? It's time to write your story. I'm not a stranger to the game. It's calling me. I'm not afraid anymore. It's my destiny. No room for doubt from you. Have faith that we'll break through. You're not alone. I'm not alone. There's nothing we can't do.
Going back to the beginning here, I'll be primarily focused on the gameplay mechanics for this video, but I don't want to give the impression that the story is just here to have a story or here to make it feel like a game. There will be a lot of people that choose to play this game because of the single player mode in the campaign. There will be a lot of other people that start playing this game because of that multiplayer social experience. And both of those reasons are valid. Some of the most impactful games I have ever personally experienced have been from small teams and have been from indie developers. And the reason I don't want to share the story is because I don't want to spoil the story for you. We definitely aim and have woven our ethos and our philosophy as an organization into the storyline. And I think especially because the sense of accomplishment that people playing this game will have in developing real transferable skills, that we just have an incredible opportunity to leave people with those wow moments. But speaking of gameplay mechanics, at the end of the intro you see for the first time a core mechanic of the game, which is called the key staff. If you are one of the 350 people that watched this video I posted a year ago, then this will look somewhat familiar. In short, a key staff is sheet music for text entry. And I'm glad that we showed this at the beginning of the teaser because I think it's going to give you a glimpse into how unbelievably data-driven CCIO is compared to any other educational trainer that you've ever used before. Now, I'm going to explain in a moment how we're leveraging all that data, but first I want to just explain the data in itself, even though I think it is somewhat intuitive just looking at it. So if I press and release the T key, the longer that I hold that key, you can see the longer these bars are. And I can track every single press and release absolutely to the millisecond. What's really cool is that not only am I tracking them absolutely, I'm also tracking their relative press and releases based on other keys around them. And no matter what level you are, whether you're an ultra high speed chording expert or you are a kindergartner who has never touched a keyboard before, that information is incredibly useful. So this module right here that is shown in the teaser, this module is called the Constitution module, and its focus is on training as well as testing your familiarity with a keyboard's layout. And in addition to measuring the speed at which you're able to recall each character as it's prompted, now we're also able to measure, thanks to the key staff data, the fluidity of your response. Being conscious of fluidity is increasingly important the more advanced of a typist you become. If I was using a typewriter like that, I would have a physical requirement of lifting a key before I press the next key. Inside the key staff, that would look something like this. But when it comes to high-speed character entry, it should be more of a burst rather than semi-automatic fire. I should be striving to press the next key before I release the first key, and that on the key staff will look something like this. Now let's talk about how we're actually leveraging this data beyond just displaying it to the user. I'm going to play this next probably 5 seconds of the video. There's so much to unpack that probably we'll end up talking about this 5 seconds for like 15 minutes. There's at least 3 pretty big points that we're going to need to cover just to understand the basics.
Inviting the old and new together at last.
All right. text entanglement replay challenges, typographic currency, and multi-layer battle animations. If you look closely in this clip, you can see all three of these things occurring simultaneously. In case you're not familiar with text entanglement, here's a video from a year ago where I believe this is the first time that this term was used. Text entanglement is a communication protocol where transmission and reception occur simultaneously rather than intermittently, and where publication is a matter of selection rather than a requirement. If you've ever joined one of my live sessions or joined in our text entanglement beta chat room, you already know how incredibly different text entanglement is than traditional text-based communication. It really blurs the lines between who is the sender and who is the receiver, and has a lot of social implications that even give advantages over traditional vocalization. When multiple parties are engaged in text entanglement, you don't just have messages, you have published as well as a dynamic range of unpublished messages. And every character that you type within that dynamic range is streamed to everybody else in the chat room. Because I have text entanglement enabled here in CCIO in this clip from the teaser, the other people in the chat room don't just see what I typed, they see what I'm typing, and they see how I'm typing it. And now that you know what text entanglement is, I can explain what a replay challenge is. So in the chat room, any message from a user that has text entanglement enabled, if I hover over that message, there's a few different options of things that you can do. The two that I'm going to cover in this video is replay, which will show the recording of what that person typed and how they typed it. And then there's also a button here that looks like a rocket ship. Replay challenge is sort of like a Mario Kart Ghost where you can race other people or race yourself. It navigates you to the technique trainer here, and it populates the settings with the attributes of that message. So looks like Riley's speed that I'm challenging here, 245 words per minute. He's not that fast. We can do 250. 258. The technique stat in CCIO is representative of how many of those sentences you've mastered. And the more that you master, the easier it is to master new ones. It's just one of 6 core stats that we're tracking in CCIO. And one thing I really like about CCIO is rather than just having you practice, well, definitely not gibberish, but even like quotes or, I don't know, random excerpts from books and things like, I don't know why the world of typing is so locked in on regurgitation. I think that if we're going to build digital fluency, we should be focusing on helping people to find their own voice rather than to just have them parrot things back at us. So that's why I think the social integration here is so huge. And what I've shown you is only the beginning of the potential for social interaction within this network. Of course, mastering new sentences is just one of 6 ways that you can level up and enhance your custom HCI profile. I think it's important also to avoid plateaus within typing sites, because a lot of sites will just have you taking the same test over and over again, day after day, and it's just mind-numbing at a certain point. Like if I start to plateau in any of my 6 core stats, I can adjust my focus area and start to develop myself somewhere else, and then maybe come back to it later. So I think setting very tangible, achievable goals to be able to measure your progress over time is really, really important to keep people engaged and coming back. It's always funny to me when I talk to people that are into competitive typing. Like for some reason, there's this like need. They're always like, yeah, I type 123 words per minute or whatever it is. And what does that even mean? It's words per minute's a local metric. It's not a global metric. And are you typing for an hour? Are you typing for a minute? Are you typing programming terminology? Like, context matters tremendously. So I don't understand this need to just like like stamp a number on everyone's forehead. I think people are more than just numbers, and I really want to get away from that culture in CCIO. And this sort of personality profile type of framework here, where everybody will have a like custom and unique digital literacy picture snapshot. I hope to help us move away from that culture a bit. And I just think, yeah, it's really great to be able to capture that everyone has different priorities and different occupations, different use cases, different talents and skills, to where we're all going to be different, and that in itself I think is something to celebrate, that we can carry over into the social aspect of CCIO as well. And all of that was just step one of the 3 items we need to cover from this 5-second clip. This next one might even be cooler than number 1. A typographic currency is a currency which you mine by typing. So when you watch this bit on the teaser, there's 2 things I want you to look out for. I want you to look at this number here, and then also this here. This is your counter, I guess. This is your care counter. This currency's name is CHAR, C-H-A-R. And then this one down here, this is your CHAR wallet.
Inviting the old and new together at last. Rewind.
Unlike fiscal-backed currencies, commodity-backed currencies, or crypto-backed currencies, this currency in particular, CHAR, has a unique attribute which I refer to as immutability. And what that means is that the value, the base value of 1 CHAR never changes. 1 CHAR is equal to 1 character typed. So every time that you type a message within CCIO, we tokenize every single character within that message. There are certain attributes to the message which can either amplify or nullify the value of those tokens, and then we pay you in those tokens to thank you for engaging on our site. And that's a perfect transition to item number 3, multi-layer battle animations. You've probably already noticed that whenever I type something, that this character on screen will respond to me in different ways, and even the way that I type something can affect how he responds. I think the best way to understand what's going on here is to take a look at our equip menu. Every item in CCIO is basically a skin. It either adds visual elements or some sort of sound to the animation and the way that your character reacts to you typing. We don't want to have items that level you up like a lot of games do, because then it takes away from the objectivity of how we're tracking people's actual progress in real life. So if I don't want battle animations at all I've got to do is just remove the ally and the body. So now when I type, you'll just see the letters in the key staff. I can even toggle off the key staff. Everything within the, we call it the Omni HUD. Everything around the Omni HUD can be folded in and out dynamically. Though the animations are fully optional in CCIO, one of the big inspirations behind it comes from this game, Osu. The whole game is basically just taking the experience of clicking a mouse and making it as engaging as possible. So similar to that, we're making the experience of pressing keys on a keyboard as engaging as possible. I think this inventory system is a strong foundation for managing the audiovisual feedback in CCIO, because there's enough entropy and randomness of these stacked elements that the same person typing the same thing can still get a different animation every time that they type it. It's also very scalable. I like that we have these little building blocks. Whenever we want to add something visual to the experience or auditory, we can plug it into the store, or have community members, when they have suggestions or ideas on how they want to tweak that experience to make it better for them, This is a pretty easy way that they could contribute. And we could just keep building it block by block in our pursuit of making the most engaging typing experience possible. All right, I need to get back to work. I hope that you guys enjoyed this as a first look into CCIO. I think we only got fully through one module. There's a lot more that I can't wait to share with you guys. If you have any feedback from what I have shown, if you have any ideas, now's a great time to share it in the comments. If you're interested in early access, go check out our Discord. That's probably the place that will first launch it. And yeah, I really, really hope that this is an experience that will delight you all.